So if we look at this one, it says a pulley system is used to keep a crate of mass mkg stationary, as shown on the diagram below. So the word stationary means the crate is at rest. It also means the net force or the resultant force acting on this crate is 0. It means also that the forces acting on this crate are balanced or they are in equilibrium. So we have 4 synonyms. So if we look at this situation, we can see that we have 3 forces acting on this crate. So we have the tension force T1, which is horizontal and going to the left. We also have a tension force T2, which is acting at an angle of 30 degrees to the horizontal or with the horizontal. And we are given that the magnitude of T2 is 245 newtons. We also have a third force, which is the gravitational force. So it's going downwards and it's acting on this crate. How do we know we have the gravitational force? It's because this crate has mass. So any object that has mass has weight, or it experiences the gravitational force. Awesome. So let's look at the first question. It says, define the term resultant vector. Well, I trust you can take care of this one. The next one says, calculate the vertical and horizontal components of T2. In other words, we need to resolve the tension force T2. So let's go to the whiteboard for that. So one thing we know is that the magnitude of T2 is 245 newtons. That is what we know. So let's start by finding the horizontal component of T2. So we say it's T2 in the X. So this is going to be T2 cos theta. So the magnitude of T2 is 245. And then we say cosine 30 degrees, like that. So if we press this into our calculator, we find that the horizontal component will be 212.18 newtons to 2 decimal places. Right. Then next, we have to calculate the vertical component, T2 in the Y. So we take the magnitude of T2 and then we multiply it by the sine of the angle. So we say 245 sine 30 degrees. So if we press this one into our calculator, we find that it's going to be 122.5 newtons. That is what we know. So we are done with the first question. We have resolved the force T2. So let's look at the next one. It says, calculate the magnitude of T1. So T1, we understand it is the horizontal force, which is going to the left. So because we are looking for a horizontal force, we need to consider horizontal forces. And we only have 2 horizontal forces in this case. It's T1 as well as T2 in the X. Do you see that? Now, in order for us to find the magnitude of T1, we have to use the concept of the word stationary. So we said stationary means the resultant force acting on this crate is 0. But the question is, what is this resultant force? And we need to assign direction because we are dealing with vectors. So let's say a force that goes to the right is positive. And here we can see that T2 in the X is going to the right, but T1 is going to the left. So if we add these two forces, we need to get 0. So if you take negative T1 to the right, it becomes positive. So this means T1 is equal to T2 in the X. And we know that T2 in the X is 212.18 newtons. So this is the magnitude of the tension force T1. So that's the most important concept. The net force acting on the grate is 0. Right. So let's look at the last one. The last one says, calculate the mass of the grate. Do you see that? So in order for us to calculate the mass, we need to start by calculating the gravitational force. Because if we look at this situation, we have two forces that are vertical. So it's T2 in the Y, which is going upwards. And then we have the gravitational force, which is going downwards. So remember what I said to you in the beginning of the video. I said to you, any object that has mass has weight or the gravitational force. Now I'm saying to you, in order to calculate the mass, you must know that any object that has weight or the gravitational force has mass. Which is why I say we need to start by finding the gravitational force, then we can go straight to the mass. So we say we are focusing on vertical forces. So once again, we say the net force acting on this grate is 0, vertically so. And we need to assign direction as well. So let's say upwards is chosen as positive. So the force that is going upwards, it's the vertical component of T2. But the force that is going downwards is the gravitational force. So this means the gravitational force will simply be equal to T2 in the Y after we took it to the right. So we know that the magnitude of the gravitational force will simply be 122.5 newtons. So now that we know the magnitude of the gravitational force, we know that if we want to calculate the gravitational force, we take the mass of an object and multiply it by the gravitational acceleration. Then we say the magnitude of the force is 122.5. The mass of this object is unknown, so we write m, and then we times it by the constant, which is 9.8. So if we go to our calculator and say 122.5 divided by 9.8, we find that the mass of this grate will simply be 12.5 kg. Over and out. So this should be the end of this video. I really hope it helps a lot, and thank you so much for watching.